parenting has been looked down upon, and people have thought that parenting is about providing. I bring food, I go to work, I come back, and then I pay your school fees, I give you clothes to wear, then I'm done with parenting. Meanwhile, there is more to that.
I think the challenge that most parents create for themselves is not being able to pay attention to their kid, their growth process, what they are taking in per information, what they are taking out per character exhibition. So you send them to school. Are you particular about what they are being taught in school? Or you just use a blanket word that, in school, they are just going there to learn English or math? Are you particular about the teacher who is teaching your kids? Are you particular about the body language? So who is your kids? Who are your kids' friends? Who are your kids talking?
How do you feel you send your children to school and they send that child back because you cannot pay school fees and the rest? Now, that should teach the young people a big lesson that don't go into marry when you are not ready. And sometimes I wonder whether some people are doing competition in terms of giving birth. Because, do you know, it's easy to raise 2 kids than to raise 5 children. Like, I don't understand.
Hello, welcome to Question No Podcast, a segment of podcasts that will question things about the church, African community, and families. And I'm your host, Pubong Johnny. And today is going to be an exceptional ride, a very exquisite podcast, because I have great and gentlemen to my right and to my left. All right, I'll introduce them a bit and I'll allow them introduce themselves afterward. All right, to my right is Mr. Aaron. It's good to have you here. All right, Mr. Aaron is an educational specialist. He is the innovative educator and the founder of Edge Nexus, the author of the 3 Ds of Purpose. Let me say that again. He's the author of the 3 Ds of Purpose and also the author of the Young series. So I hope I got that right.
Yeah.
Please help me say it well.
Yeah. Okay. I'm the author of the Young series. The Young series is a collection of self-development book designed to help young people acquire vital life skill. Then the 3 Ds of Purpose, I wrote that to help people discover, develop, and deploy their potential. So the 3 Ds has to do with discovery, development, and deployment. Yeah.
Wow. Great one. Thank you for showing up, sir.
Thank you.
All right. To my left is Mr. Jude Fidelis. He's a creation entrepreneur and a teen coach. Sir, please.
Thank you very much for having me here. First off, he's creative entrepreneur.
Oh, creative.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, not creation.
Okay.
I would want a creative. Then teens coach. Basically, I teach life skills from listening, public speaking, learning, basically life skills.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming around, sir.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. All right. Over the years, parenting has been overlooked. Parenting has been looked down upon, and people have thought that parenting is about providing. I bring food, I go to work, I come back, and then I pay your school fees, I give you clothes to wear, then I'm done with parenting. Meanwhile, there is more to that.
Of course.
So it brings us to the topic of today, from material to meaningful, the true essence of parenting, from material to meaningful. How then can we, as parents of the 21st century, prove to our children that parenting is more than provision, is more than breastfeeding, is more than paying house rent? This is why we are here today. And these gentlemen are over the years giving their life, their resources, and their energy to this sphere of life. And that's what we want to do today. Please, sir, let me start with you, Mr. Fidelis. Before we began this session, I asked you, how long have you been into the teens life coaching? So, and you said since the year of the Lord. And then later you said living time to 18. So how has the journey been over the years?
I would say interesting. Now, this is why I said since the year of the Lord.
Okay.
Because I actually started out actively getting involved in teens, coach, empowerment and all when I was a teenager.
Wow.
So yes, I had a godmother who introduced me to it and then mentored me to become a mentor, more like peer educator. So mentored me to become a mentor, a peer educator amongst my peers and all the stuff. So I think from 2018, I took it serious because at this point I had grown and there were a lot of concerns or things that needed to take my attention. So I was like, okay, instead of trying to figure out something different, let me just jump into this. So from 2018 down up until now, 2025, exactly, it has been interesting. Interesting in the sense that every time you're learning, there are some framework that exists that you think, okay, we can use this and this can make sense and all. Then fast forward, you realize that the framework is not as if it's obsolete.
Okay.
It just needs refinement here and there. And working with different people from different backgrounds, different teenagers from different backgrounds, you tend to realize that the solution there is or therein is not a one fix all. So people are just peculiar. So based on their peculiarity, you just reinvent, on the job. So I would say it's quite interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Mr. Aaron, let me come to you. Sorry guys, I'm jumping already to Mr. Aaron's book, The Young series. Is a series, This one talks about the young investor, talks about the young innovator, and this last one talks about the young captain. So what inspired you to write these books? Because I know of the truth that you've been a teens coach and children's coach for the year, and then you've done massive work in this part of the world, Akwa Ibom, and to the ends of the earth. How did you come about it?
It's a long journey. I started my journey in 2005. When I finished primary school and I was about entering secondary school, and I finished children's church. So my teacher asked me that I need to come around and teach, and that is how I started the whole stuff. From there, I started doing home coaching and the rest. Now, what's birthed the Young series is that Nigerians, we are fond of recognizing our problem. But just knowing your problem will not bring the solution. So if you observe, that it's not a new thing to say that our educational system is faulty.
True.
But just shouting, saying it that it's faulty and the rest will not bring the solution. So when I came to Akwa Ibom in 2019, after service, I moved to you in 2020. Then we started the Kittens Book Club. So I started coaching them, mentoring them, and I decided to settle down with my team and look into the challenges we are having in school. And say, how can we bridge this gap? How can we bridge this gap? So we started thinking that, okay, they are doing academics in school, but there's no life skill. There's no system designed to help them acquire vital life skill and help them discover themselves. For me, I see life as a journey inside to discover self, and a journey outside to contribute meaningfully to the society. But most times people tend to focus on the second journey.
Rewind that definition. Let's get that.
Yeah, for me, I consider life as a two-side journey. A journey inside to discover self, and a journey outside to contribute meaningfully to the society. So most times we tend to focus on the second journey. So you see a lot of people confusing, trying to survive and the rest. So we felt that, okay, what can we do to help these young ones acquire vital life skills? So we started teaching them leadership, teaching them purpose. Like I wrote 3 Days of Purpose in 2020. So one of the things I noticed is that those guys, as I was saying, that their attention started shifting from I, me, myself. So because the moment you say understanding purpose, you start thinking about yourself, start thinking about others, and that is what brings transformation to the society. So we started saying that they start changing. So in 2023, I started thinking, okay, how can we scale what we've been doing? How can we scale our impact? So we said to study the school system, and we noticed that leadership is lacking, creative thinking is lacking, financial literacy is lacking. But these are the things that we need in the society. So that is what birthed this, and we are grateful to God for the impact. Like the testimony, we launched this on the 1st of March, and the testimony is really, really crazy, and we are grateful to God.
Amazing. All right, so, Mr. Fidelis. So over the years, because I know, since you said, since the year of the Lord, I know things you do. Let me say that. There are things we do, and we don't give it a name tag. There are things we started up as children, we're doing great things, but if we were asked, because we didn't know how to call it, so we thought it was just something normal. What are the challenges that you think parents neglect in their children and exposing them to risk? Because there are things parents do not do. In fact, the best parent think he is doing so well and forget that this is a very primary. I've not done this in my child's life. What are those few things you want to mention?
First of all, I would say it's their inability to pay attention to their kids. Paying attention to their kids. You know, most times, like you said, they may be tempted to saying, oh, I have shelter over their heads. I have clothes on their back. I've given them food. What they ask for. Okay, they didn't ask for school, but I've given them the best education I can afford. The best education I can afford. I can afford. I can afford. Yes. I've done this, I've done that, yada, yada. They should be fine. But you know, it's not enough. Those things are just basics. They are just basics. So I think the challenge that most parents create for themselves is not being able to pay attention to their kids, their growth process, what they are taking in per information, what they are taking out per character exhibition. So you send them to school. Are you particular about what they are being taught in school? Or you just use a blanket word that, oh, it's school. They are just going there to learn English or math. You know, are you particular about the teacher who is teaching your kids? Are you particular about the body language? So who is your kids? Who are your kids' friends? Who are your kids talking to? You know, all those conversations. When they are back from school and then they are exhibiting something that you didn't teach them, are you particular about questioning it? Where did you get this one from? So and also you won't blame them that much because them too, the case of this world is real. So for parenting to be successful, in fact, the best of parents, I'm saying this because, you know, research has proven it and history has proven it over time. The best of parents that we may think is in the world do fail. Yes, they might not fail at their infantry stage. Is when the kids get to their teenage or possibly to their early adulthood. That's where they get to fail. So the best of parents can possibly fail. But again, I think they don't really need to do much. Just pay attention about what is happening with your kids. What is happening with your kids? I don't know if it's this year or last year, but there was a scenario that happened, a situation, real life issue that happened, I think in ABJ, and we had a record. I saw it on one podcast like that. Yeah, we had a convention that happened where a student was killed in a school.
Is it secondary school now?
Yeah, secondary school. Yeah, was killed in a school, and plenty background gist around it. Now, before this time, the child was always faking to be sick just because she wanted to have that time with the mom. And the mom was very busy with her job that she couldn't create that time for the kid.
Are you serious?
So we got to hear this background gist after the child had died. And further investigation on the school revealed that the child had suffered series of molestation from an adult in the school.
An adult teacher, an adult student?
Sure, adult teacher, adults, and a student will be adults.
No, I'm just curious.
In the school, it's on the internet. So what will happen is after the show, I'll send you the link to that particular. It's a podcast stuff that went very viral as I think late last year, early this year, something like that. So now when I heard that gist, I was livid because, see, madam, anything you're doing here is just formality. You should have, when your child was saying, I want to say something, I have something to tell you. Pay attention. You should have paid attention. And in her words, consistently, she said that her daughter is not the kind of person that wants to shy away from academic activity. But for some reason, she started and you didn't pay attention to it. You didn't pay attention to it. So as little as paying attention to what is happening to your kids and around, them, who is checking your children? Let's not shy away. Let's not shy away. Let's not sweep it under the carpet. Who are they gisting with? What conversation are they holding? Don't just come in. They shouldn't come in the sense that, oh, you're coming in to correct. No, just come in because you want to know, more like a friendly kind of conversation. Once that is done, there's a lot of challenges that you'll be able to walk through. A lot of bridge, that a lot of space rather that you would bridge in the communication between your parent, that's the parent and the kids. Yeah.
So let me bring the same question to you. I gave you a gist and I said the first time I heard "I love you" was outside. You don't say that inside. In fact, till I left home, I'm not sure my father had ever hugged me.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the challenges that you could also relate in your years of experience as a teens coach and as a coach of public?
Okay. I think for us to really do justice to this conversation, we must also put time in perspective.
Okay.
You understand? Because we do things in time. In terms of time, I'm talking about eras and the rest. So we do things in time.
Okay.
So we cannot really do justice to any issue without putting the time in perspective. Now, we need to consider parenting in olden days and parenting now.
Yeah.
Because most of the parents we have now, they are product of parenting in olden days. And sometimes I've seen so many parents, they feel that parenting is just all about giving birth. Though parenting, you are not a parent just because you can give birth. Anyone can do that. Anyone can do that. So a lot of persons felt that parenting is a natural stuff that I don't need to go for training. So you go for training to do other things. But when it comes to parenting, you don't even pay attention and you feel that, oh, this is how they raise me and I'm going to raise my child. So when you go back to olden days, you notice that the focus was basically on survival. And like what you were saying, providing for your kids. And if you have the money, you send them to school. So a good parent is that parent who can provide food, can provide shelter for a parent. But you if you check critically now, you notice that the trend is changing from survival to meaning.
Meaning.
To meaning. It's changing from survival to meaning. And when it comes to meaning now, we are not paying attention to the spirituality of your child and the psychology of your child, because that is where the meaning resides. You get what I'm saying? And so most times, parents need to understand that it's not just your ability to provide a physical need, but parenting is influence. Influence in terms of ideology.
Parenting is influence.
That is my definition of parent. Like parenting is influence in terms of ideology, in terms of your culture. So as a parent, you have to, if you want to measure how your growth or your success as a parent, you check how, to what extent is your ideology influencing your child. Because someone can be under your roof and is living a different life. And now I say parenting is influenceable. You cannot influence someone that you don't spend time with. And that take me back to what he said, which is very, very important. So most times, sometimes you just feel that because I give gift, I do that. And you see the trend today, like parents don't know the damage they are causing for themselves until their old age. Now, these days now, in a quest to just make to provide for the children and the rest, you leave very early in the morning and come back in the night. Now, when the child is 11, you send them to boarding school. From boarding house to the university. Now, you just like there's no emotional connection. Now, one of my senior friend shared a story with me.
Okay.
He went to meet a mentor who is doing very well in the banking sector.
Okay.
And he told them, the mentor told them that they should not repeat his mistake. Now, he has kids that are in abroad.
Okay.
So the man first so sick. And the wife was around, but the kids said they need their mommy, so they flew their mommy to abroad. And when the man requested that, please, I want my wife back, they said no, that Nigeria is chaotic, that they don't want this thing. You understand? And what happened? Those guys were busy. The man was busy building career when the children were growing, so there is no emotional connection. So they are just seeing that man as the man who provide, who give us food, who give us this. So it's very, very important. It still boils down to paying attention to the psychology of your child. Like, I think the duty of any parent now in our dispensation is self-education.
Okay.
Self-education. Helping your child to discover, develop, and deploy their uniqueness. See, once I've observed that, if you check very well, you notice that some persons respect their spiritual father than their biological father. You know why? See, you are in the game, so you know how it is. So let me not say much. But you know why? People can easily forget what you give them. But people hardly forget who helped them discover their true self.
Yeah, that's
so the best you can do for your child is to help them discover their true self. When a child discovers his or her true self, self-esteem will be there. Self-esteem will be there. He cannot easily be deceived by any other person because you already know who he is. If you notice, most of the challenge that the younger ones are facing today is identity crisis. They don't know themselves, so they fall so gullible to any influence and the rest. So that is it. Parents need to pay attention that, it's good to provide for them, but also make out time to talk to them. Yeah.
So it's almost like, I don't know. It's almost like the fathers are failing, because most of the times, mothers, to a large extent, tends to connect to their children, emotionally, connection. And so I've had series of experience where the child or the children are a child put to bed. They say, "Let mommy come, let daddy stay." So and then sometimes we neglect the dads. So to what extent should they?
Are you asking?
Okay. Yes, I'm asking. Okay. What should the fathers do? What's the puzzle that is missing that the father should help the children?
Okay. I'll pick it up from where Aaron mentioned that self-education.
Okay.
That self-education. And understand that first off, we are saying this thing is parenting. We are not talking about fatherhood or motherhood.
Okay.
It's parenting. And parenting is not complete without an involvement of a father and a mother.
Interesting.
So from there, I would say that most times the reason why it looks as if fathers are missing out in the action is because they've been taught or groomed wrongly. So in 2021 thereabout, I went to a friend's house and I saw a book. That's your first becoming a first year parent, something like that. Yeah. Oh, you know the book?
Yeah.
I saw that book and I asked the person, I want to go with it. As at this time, I'm not. I wasn't a father. As I wasn't even preparing to become a father, but I just saw the book and I loved it. From the first page to the last page of the book, I realized that that journey wasn't completed without the involvement of the father, So the mom had a role to play at every growth stage of their kids, and the dad also had a role to play. So when you get there's a age gap, not the gap. There is a age your kids will get to, and the person who ought to be the key role player in that sense is the dad. But in a situation where the dad is not aware, doesn't have the skill set, is not equipped to follow through, to man up that stuff, you realize that that's chaotic. So you just leave it to the mom, and the mom will do it based on instinct. Because on her own, she wasn't trained. Listen, Baba, let's not complicate this thing. Parenting is work. The same way you go and pick a course, let's say maybe in banking and finance, in marketing, in medicine, the same way you go pick course, that's the same way you ought to treat parenting. How many years did it take an average banker who is doing so well in his or her career? How many years did it take the person to grow that, on that line, in that line? How many years? So you just want to come into parenting and assume that because you were able to bring a baby to the world, or as a man, because you're ready to provide and all, you will be able to arrive at having a good or beautiful kids. It doesn't work that way. It works. So men or fathers have roles to play, and it's side by side with the more whoever the partner is. is side by side with it. But again, they ought to retrain themselves, equip themselves, go for the knowledge, them to be available. Be available. And then also, people like you who are in the media space, creating content and all, create content that sends this message across that parenting is both parts. I do it, I advocate it when I have the opportunity to do. I don't know if you came across one commercial. I love the commercial.
Okay.
Pampers is a brand. Pampers.
Yeah.
They did a commercial, and from start to finish, we're all men. They did a commercial to float advocacy that men can be part of, helping. Yes. And they also launched that commercial during Men's Day, not this recent.
Okay.
We did recent. No, this one was Women's Day. But they launched it during Men's Day.
Wow.
So it shows that you can't have successful parenting hinge on one part, which is the mom. The dad needs to be in the equation. Yes.
Oh, so have you? His thoughts brought about this question now, because we have children who did not come to see their father; they're just mothers. How should the mother help to bring a father figure into the children's life? Because it's present that some children, they don't born consider their papa. Is there any remedy for them, or since are you laughing? Because someone will say, I'm not saying my father, and then
yes. Now, there's something I want to add to what you said.
Okay.
Which is very, very important. And sometimes if you settle down to consider this, you cannot fully blame fathers, because every society, we need to understand that we are living in a society that has already attached roles, has given us role. Now, as a father, growing up as a young person, you now have that sense. They give you that sense that you are meant to provide. Yeah. Your job is to go out, work, breathe food, and all those stuff. Yeah. And that's what people are doing. Like there are some parents who have that genuine heart. They want to see their kids. But the reality of life, how do you feel you send your children to school and they send their child back because you cannot pay school fees and the rest? Now, that should teach the young people a big lesson that don't go into marry when you are not ready. And sometimes I wonder whether some people are doing competition in terms of giving birth. Because, do you know, it's easy to raise 2 kids than to raise 5 children. Like, I don't understand. You see some persons, they have lost their dream. Like, I felt so hot when I see some guys, like I've seen some persons, senior friends, living in the shadow of themselves after marrying. Why? They are jumping from one distance to another, hustling. Yeah. They can't even pursue their vision. Why? They want to put food on on the table for their children and the rest. So it's something that you have to plan it. Like you said, it's not something you jump into it and say, you don't reach you are this, go into it now. People are forcing you. When you enter, they can help you in your wedding. But in marriage, you are going to take care of the whole thing. So when it comes to a child who doesn't have a father figure, it comes with a lot of responsibility. Like men are not designed to be to act like man. I'm a man. I mean, women are not designed to act like us, and we too are not designed. So God's there to do it in such a way so that they both can complement each other. So it's a long journey for the mother. So I think the best thing the mother can do is to expose that child to education. That's just the truth. You can't deny the reality. This is the reality, but there's nothing you can do about it. Because sometimes you can be a victim of that reality, or you can see it as a challenge. That since I don't have a father figure, what am I supposed to do? With knowledge, I've seen, like, for instance, now, there's this man that challenged me a lot, Les Brown. Okay. Les Brown, the mother is a twin. So they gave birth to them and just dumped them. So someone picked them up. And he has name. Yeah, Les Brown that is doing great. Motivational speaker, and he's doing great stuff and the rest. But do you know that you never heard anything about the twin brother?
Twin brother, yeah.
Because he was just complaining that this is my situation and the rest. But this guy made up his mind that I'm not going to be a victim of this reality. That I'm going to consider it as a challenge. So if what the mother needs to do is to have a honest conversation with the child that this is the reality we are in. You can choose to be a victim, or you can consider it as a challenge, to just build up yourself. So there are knowledge everywhere. You must not have a father to be a responsible man. There are fathers everywhere.
The one. You must not have a father
to be a responsible man.
Yes.
There are fathers everywhere. There are father figures everywhere who can help you. But most times, people they just want to be a victim of their circumstances. You understand? So there are fathers everywhere. You just want to go for knowledge and make up my mind that, I don't have a father figure in my life, but that will not happen to my children. They will make up your mind that since I don't have, I will make sure that my children have that father figure. So that is that.
Sorry, let me add to what he said.
Okay.
Now, what he said is very, very valid. You know, when you asked that question, I was kind of giggling. I was like, so what you want me to do, man?
Make it more romantic. What do you want the woman to do?
But on the flip side, and I looked at it, that life can happen.
Yeah, true.
And to a large extent, the woman may or may not be part of that life that happened. So the child may not even cause it, or may, because if you listen to those stories of breakup, they can be very dicey. But on the flip side, this, like he said, the woman there, the mom in question, should expose this child to education. Now, at a certain age where this child gets to know between from her left or his left to right, vice versa, irrespective of the gender now, the person should actively go in search of mentorship.
Sure.
Because, like he said, there are fathers figures out there who would want to, in fact, they know where they came from. They know where they came from. So they know that, okay, this is a reality of life. And this is a reality of life. And to move further, God has brought me this far. I've been able to do X, Y, Z by myself and all. So I think I can extend such grace to someone who is not privileged to be in my shoe or has not gone through that path and all the stuff. However, I'm just saying this, should in case there is someone out there who is watching us here and possibly might fall victim to any breakup, marriage, home, his phobia and all the stuff. Please, in all that you do, don't hold grief. Don't hold grief. In 2023, I was somewhere. So it was a session. So we were just talking. And the presenter made a very, very loud statement based on research. Okay. She said that there was a study that was done. I've forgotten the body who did the study. And they arrived at the fact that 95% of young people, that's teenagers, who suffered from broken family. And as a result of that, made a decision not to do like their parents did. End up doing like their parents did.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, that got me thinking. So it's not enough for you to make decisions. Say, I want to change this, I want to do that. I'm not going to do this. He said the way out of that stuff is that you need to be deliberate about, first and foremost, spotting out what actually led to this thing. At some point where you get old and mature to handle info, if it's within your power, go out, start making findings. Ask your mom, ask your dad if you still have contact. What happened? In happening, you realize that most likely or not, you might be going through the same stresses that will lead you to even
worse situations that the parents.
Yes. Because the thing that you're fighting, with all your might against, you will most likely repeat it if you do not have structures and systems around you to guide you through it. So in all that you do, don't hold grief, embrace mentorship, then most importantly, pray. Baba, God will help you.
Interesting.
All right, you're watching us. This is still Question No Podcast, a segment of podcast that we question the norms and we challenge the status quo. And you may have a perspective that we have not touched light.
Exactly.
You might want to drop it on the comment section and we will pick from there. All right, still Mr. Aaron and Mr. Jude on Question No Podcast today. And let me throw this question and see who will pick it. Sir, Mr. Aaron and Sir Jude. So, some parents tend to do their best, the father and the mother now. They tend to do their best. They deploy their best. They give their children spirituality, psychology, and at the end of the day, the child still comes out irresponsible. Okay, I know your family. I know your family.
I think you should be asking them this question. I tried to find the question. Ask the family.
A guy, there are 7 boys. 7 boys and 1 girl. That's 8 of them.
That's a lot.
All of them are educated. They've gone to university. The lady is married, and the first 5, 6 boys are wayward. Permit me to use the word wayward. And it's only one, the last boy that is my friend, that keeps complaining. He said, Ubon, my father did all he could. He gave us the best education. He exposed us to this and that. And he's wondering in his mind, where did my dad miss it? That is a pastor of the Deeper Life, Deeper Life Church. Very strict, disciplined man, God-fearing. And so, in my mind, at this point, is it environment? Is it peer group? Is it, what could we trace this irresponsibility to? So, at this point, who wants to start this? Help us. Because someone watching us there might have the same question.
I'd rather keep asking. No, this is really deep. This is just deep, honestly.
Yeah.
I've seen some parents giving out their best, but you still see their children going the opposite. But the thing is that, I'm a philosopher. I like to see something from all angle, 360. So for you to give credit to that parent that they have done well, we really need to sit down to just the metrics in raising them first. To assess the metrics in raising them. Because if you are from that religious background, most parents tend to believe that parenting is I don't want my children to drink, I don't drink, they don't do this. If you check, most of the religious people, they don't have emotional connection with their children.
That's true.
I'm telling you the truth. Yeah, we grow from that religious background. They are just focused on rules. There are 2 ways to raise your children. Is either you raise them on rules or you raise them on culture. You understand? Like I said, I've been coaching kids now for over 10 years. Wow. And whenever I go to houses to do some coaching and the rest, I do my best to learn from those parents. There are some parents just set rules, very religious, you have to do this, you have to do that. And their children is very, very calm. Just move them out and you see the rest. But you see some children, they don't need any supervision. It's a culture. Yeah. It's a way of life. You understand? It's a way of life. So most times, like I keep saying, if people can go to school to study courses, then you need to also study what parenting is all about. Most times, where we tend to, and if you check very well, if you have honest conversation with those children, they will tell you what their parents are not doing right. That is the honest conversation. To you now, because the parent provide for them and they say, oh, you must go to church, you must do this, may think that he has done very well, but there may be a missing link. Yeah. There may be a missing link on that side. So on the second level, sometimes, you see, most time people trying to debunk the spirituality of life. See, life is spiritual. Whether there's nothing religious about it. Sometimes when you start noticing pattern, know that there is a force beyond the human distinct. Some people are under forces. And until you settle it, speak all your grammar, nothing will work. People need to understand. Like there are some persons, they don't even know God, they are not Christian, but they understand the spirituality of life. So even if you are taking such children, those guys to therapy now, what they try to do is to study them, understand patterns. Yeah. Because this pattern, you see that this is going on. If you check now, there may be something happening in their lineage that they need to sort it out first. They need to sort it out. So in such case, you need to consult a therapy who understand. Sometimes you need to have a honest conversation with someone. Consult a therapy. Then also apply spirituality. Pray about the whole thing, because this is not normal. That is not the life God designed for them. They are under influence. So they need something. They need a force bigger than them to set them free. You get? So that is the point.
That's it. As I was talking, I feel like praying.
No, that's because I heard it. That's why now. How do you take enter this thing?
I want to go to say.
Okay. In the way I look at it, there are 8, Abi. Abi said 8. There are 8.
One lady.
Yes. And that 8, how many they like say they get hit? Only one. Interesting. Personally, I wouldn't say the parents aren't doing well. Most times this thing, the way it is usually is this. Most times the part that breaks the camel's back per parenting is very small, very little. And that little is a part of, in fact, it has to do with the time you spend with your kids. This is where I'm coming from. You will not tell me that those guys started going the wayward way at a certain age. They didn't just turn wayward at age 20. They had started. You noticed or did not notice, and you couldn't stamp your foot on what you accept or not accept. Like you said, most times there is this this denial that most religious people live in. That, it's because they go to church, they can't afford to be thinking this. Because they are doing devotion with me, they cannot be doing that. That's denial. You can only control what happens in your sitting room during prayer. Outside that, you can't control. So if you do not have a time with your kids independently, not that you have 8, all of them come together, want to have time. While I was growing up, a good part of my life, I lived with my grandparents on my mom's side, grandparents, and they were clergies of Assemblies of God. I realized that we used to have Bible studies every time. Now, we used to have Bible studies every time, and we were like, okay, all the grandchildren come, do Bible studies. And then I noticed that the thing changed. Not all the grandchildren again. One person at a time.
Are you serious?
Yes, one person at a time. So my Bible study day can be Tuesday. We now enter him. And while I was growing up and with the things I'm doing, I realized that apparently he noticed that the group thing does not work. Me, I can be scattered. So you can be there doing your thing, and I'm here catching G's here and there. It's not as if I'm not hearing you. But when we are doing it as a group, I'm catching G's. You might think, this is it. So he knows that I'm not that. So he will just bring me stay. Keeps talking, keeps asking questions, then I'm scattered doing my thing. At the end of the day, it worked. So what I'm saying that to say that most times you do not use, the parent might do everything. But that small thing.
Yeah.
That small thing, because external influence, I think he made mention or you made mention of peer pressure.
Yeah.
Peer pressure is real. Peer pressure is real. There is how your kid can leave a house, say, I am this, I am that, I am that. By the time you enter school, you see woke up people more than you.
Seriously.
You will need affirmation to stay in that state. Yes. That's what parenting also, that time you create, what it does or what you do is to affirm to them that this is who you are. You get the drift?
Sure.
So if those things are off, if you do every other thing, it might not end up well.
Wow. This has been an amazing ride with Mr. Aaron and Mr. Jude on Question No Podcast, and I trust that you've enjoyed yourself and you've learned value. Bringing this to a wrap, I'll just give them 1 minute each to summarize. So I've not even entered this 3 days of hope, so I think we need to schedule for this one again.
Yeah, people need to read it. All been saying now, if you want to summarize it now, we are talking about self-discovery.
Yeah.
Because it goes a long way. It goes a long way. Like I said earlier, a lot of people, if you do your study, I did a recent study, and I noticed most of the challenges that the younger ones are facing today is identity crisis, because there are a lot of voices there outside there. You understand? A lot. Or when we're growing, there are some things we don't have access to. The only social media, this thing at that time was to go.
Yeah.
To go, we're just doing that one and the rest. But these days now, these kids are exposed to a lot. So it's very, very easy for you to go astray if you don't know who you are. If you don't know who you are. And one of the things I notice is that when a child starts discovering his or her identity, there's this confidence that comes. There's this self-esteem that comes that, like, you know that this one is not for me. And I've studied some parents, like I have some parents that I consider them as a coach. They groom their children based on culture. Say people like us don't do certain things. So that stuck with the child that, no, I'm from a royal, just like, if you work with a royal children, there are certain things they don't do. They groom them that you are from here. So people need to have, just like you said, that affirmation that this is where you are from. So when you help that child to have that when I was in school, one of the things that helped me when I got to the university is that I discovered myself. So my parents said doing less work, because I know that this is who I am. Yeah. So there are certain things that is not good for me again. You get what I'm saying? And that's why I wrote this book. Like, the book is doing an amazing job. Like, people have been receiving testimonies from younger people, how the book has changed their life, because it helps them to discover, not just discover. You develop that, okay, this is who I am. Now start developing, then you now deploy. And that is what we do at Edge Nexus. So we help them discover themselves. Then we'll give them that, we'll develop them, then give them that platform. Like our last launching, you were there. I didn't do anything. He didn't even do anything. We leave it to them, and they did an amazing job. They did an amazing job. So it's very, very important. What we are saying, in essence, that parents pay attention to the self-education of your child, because apart from God, you are the one who should know your children the most. Apart from God. So it's your duty. It's your duty, just like you go to study to acquire, to get a career. Also see parenting as a ministry, that has a calling. That is not just something that, let me just give birth, pay their school fees and the rest. Pay attention to them. Who is this child? Who is this child? And most importantly, pray for them as well. That is it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aaron of Edge Nexus. All right. So, Aaron, Mr. Jude, please.
Yeah,
in 1 minute.
I just want to talk to the parents.
Okay.
Please, by all means, take care of yourself. By all means, parenting is work. And if you know the amount of work that needs to be done, you will agree with me that a 1 day, 2 days, 3 days retreat will not hurt. So in all that you do, having done all, putting shelter, giving them shelter, giving them clothes, food, all those stuff, even in spending time, please take your time out. Some of you have kids in boarding school. So what do you do when they're in boarding school? Use that time, re-equip yourself, rework on your tool, try as much as you can to get into that state of mental health, like mental balance, no stress at all. No carry money matter, go wrap on top picking. You will most likely miss it all. But, most importantly, take care of yourself and you'll be fine.
Wow. The true essence of parenting starts with the ability to give your child a self-education and to help serve as an influencer in your child's life. And this is what we've discussed today at Question No Podcast. And I'm sure you've gotten value. Thank you for joining us today. See you next time. Same on Question No. Bye for now.